Hey there, YouTube. Shady Bill's Garage here. We're going to do a quick review of my son's, new to him, 2009 Yamaha TTR230 versus the bike he's had for the past 2 years, his 2018 Kawasaki KLX140G. The G is the full-size wheel, 21-inch front, 18-inch rear bike that you may be cross-shopping together if you're looking for a beginner or entry-level trail bike to learn how to ride. So who are these bikes good for? Who are these bikes built for? You might look at them and go, these are very similar bikes, and they probably are for the same person, and they're really not. So the Kawasaki here, this is basically a trail bike. This is the same frame. This is a smaller, like a pit bike frame, with full-size wheels. And this bike comes in 3 different varieties. The regular KLX140 has a 17-inch front and a 14-inch rear. The L has a 19-inch front and a 16-inch rear. And this one, which is a 21-inch front with an 18-inch rear. At least the L and the G have rear disc brakes, which is very nice. But if you look at this bike, Chris, why don't you sit on this bike real quick? You'll see it has a smaller frame. Now look at his rider triangle. Look at his legs. Okay, Chris is 5'5" and 115 pounds. He's been riding this bike since he was 12, and he was about 5 feet tall, maybe 5'1". And because this bike has a much smaller, basically a pit bike frame, it has a lot of ground clearance. This bike has more ground clearance than my WR250F. Also because he's lighter, but we went over some railroad tracks the other day, and this bike did not hit where everyone else's bike, including his friend on one of these, they actually hit their skid plate. All right, now Chris, go pop on the Yamaha here. Now you see this is a much more substantial bike, all right? And it's more substantial than the 30 pounds heavier that this bike is. So if you look at his legs on this, he has a lot more room, okay? So if you were taller, there's a lot more room. He's fine on the Kawasaki. Now, these bikes have a very similar seat height. According to what I've read, the Yamaha has a seat height of 34.3 inches. And Chris, why don't you pop the kickstand up and show how you sit on the ground? Or you don't have to, just keep. So he can almost flat foot this bike, okay? But you can tell it's a stretch. Now, he's 5'5", so keep in mind that's the size of the bike, and he can flat foot it. Being able to flat foot something, or at least get your feet down if you have rocks or anything, is very important. But he's not sinking the suspension as much. Hop on the other bike real quick. So basically the same seat height. This is a 39.9 inch, so not even a half-inch lower seat height. But it's designed, it's a little softer. And look at his legs on that. He actually has some bend in his legs when he's on that bike. Basically the same seat height if you read a magazine, but it's not the same. It's not really designed for the same person. Okay, the other thing is the weight. The Kawasaki is 218 pounds compared to this at 218 compared to 351, and only 30 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but let's put this bike on its side. Chris, I want you to pick both bikes up. All right, you'll pick the bike up. This is how you should pick up a bike, always from behind like that. Put your kickstand down and it'll land right on the kickstand. Very easy, right? Let's see how you do struggle. Let's see if you can do this one as well. So this is 251 pounds, so 33 pounds heavier. All right, he's going to put it on the ground and pop it up. So he can do it. All right, Chris, what's your comparison on which one you'd rather pick up?
This one's heavier by quite a bit.
By quite a bit. So that's where the weight really comes into. It's not really riding it, although it takes a little bit to throw it around. But when you drop your bike, and everyone drops their dirt bikes, this is going to be harder to pick up. I have a feeling when we go out next time, I'll be helping him pick up the bike a lot more with this, especially when you're on like a hilly trail, compared to that. So what's each bike made for? Well, let's actually start them really quick. Chris, why don't you start up that one there? Very easy to start, electric start. Okay, fires right up. And you can hear it. Like, this sounds like a dirt bike. Hop on the other one, Chris. Now, these both have stock exhausts. The Kawasaki is so much quieter. I live in a neighborhood, as you can see, there's houses, and I have some woods behind me, but not a lot. There's people on the other side of the woods. I have no problem with him riding this Kawasaki in the woods. None of the neighbors have ever complained. For 2 years, you've been riding this thing in the woods. No one's ever said a peep to you. This one, I don't know if you can ride that in the woods, but okay, that's just going to piss off the neighbors. So, what bikes are these made for? My thing is, if you're a lighter rider, beginning rider, the Kawasaki is your way to go. If you have a teenager, 12 years old to 15 years old, and they have little to no experience, this is the way to go. You can always sell your dirt bike. Don't sit there and go, oh, I'm forking out all this money. They're worth what you pay for them when you sell them if you buy them used. If you buy them new, yeah, you'll lose a little bit of money. The Yamaha is made, I believe, more for someone who's larger, an adult, someone who has, I'd say 130 to 150 pounds. If you have that much weight to you, you want to go to this bike. I think at 5'5", Chris can ride either bike. He was perfectly happy on this Kawasaki until last week when he went out and switched bikes with a buddy of his. And after a couple of, like an hour or so on it, you were sold. You're like, I want a little more suspension, a little more substantial bike, a little more power. But what are your thoughts, Chris?
This one has like a lot more amount of power because, like, I don't know, it feels nicer when like going over like certain like things, but this one, like going over rocks and like hill climbs, it sometimes feels nicer. I don't know. It feels also a little skinnier.
A little skinnier. It is definitely a skinnier bike. If you look at the seat on this and the angle of putting your feet on the ground compared to this one, your legs are definitely going around this bike more, which probably also leads to being able to flat foot the Kawasaki a little easier. So my suggestion is, if you're lighter, smaller, under 130 pounds, and you don't have a ton of experience, go with the Kawasaki. If you're bigger than that, this Yamaha will ride you from the time you're 115 pounds and 5'5", like my boy is. And I see adults on these things all the time. There's no reason this can't be your first trail bike to get your feet wet if you're a full-size adult. It's a very versatile bike. This one's just built a little bit lighter duty. After 2 years, I've had to change the chain, the sprockets, the rear wheel bearings. He's put this bike through hell. But it's been unbelievably reliable. Nothing ever broke on it. It was just wear. We noticed the chain had stretched after 500 miles. The rear wheel bearings had a little bit of play. Well, the handlebars, as all dirt bikes are, they're a wet noodle when they're stock, so you have to change those. So that's my review on the KLX140G versus the Yamaha TTR 230. Leave your comments, subscribe, and if you have either one of these bikes and want to let everybody know what you think, let them know. Thanks. Bye.